Welcome to this week's meditation atelier. My apologies that this is only a live recording. I will not have stable internet connection for Friday morning, so I'm bringing this to you from the time that we would have the session, so it will only be available at the time the group would happen. And all the resources will be on the website for session 7. So this is the 7th in the 12 block series. So if you've made it this far, well done. And one of the things that I'm introducing now at this stage is, so the practice will be alternating between mindfulness, sort of the purer form of mindfulness that you'll be familiar, and then the mindful compassion practices. So in the last atelier, it was a mindful compassion practice, and then the home practice was a mindful movement. So this week we're going to be practicing a mindfulness, purer mindfulness practice, and the home practice will be a self-compassion practice. So I'll go into a little bit more detail about that towards the end of the session. So we'll run through as usual. We'll have the longer practice. We'll move through a tea and then a space for you to reflect on your experience. You can press pause and journal or carry on through. And then I'll introduce the home practice and we'll close with a short meditation. Now, before we begin, this week I am going to be weaving some movement practices into the space. Don't need a lot of space, but I would invite that you bring a few objects. And an ideal one could be one of those testers that you've got, a moisturiser. So we're going to move through putting some moisturiser on, but if you don't have any, or you don't want to put anything on your skin at this moment, then you can simply move through the movements. A mindful movement practice going to be woven in. So have some moisturiser or an oil, or a serum, whatever to hand. I'm using one of these samples because I thought, you know what, I've been saving this because I'd like to try this product, and I'm just going to use it all over. So without further ado, setting yourself up for a sitting practice, or if you want to do this lying down, absolutely listening to your body and your needs. I just need my watch, excuse me. Taking this time to settle into your space, set up your posture. If you're sitting, having your feet apart, flat on the floor, your knees hip width apart. And if you can, having your hips slightly higher than your knees. So we're encouraging a long spine. So your chin will be slightly tucked, picturing somebody pulling you up by the crown of the head. And taking a moment to honor this time that you've taken out of your day to be here. It's having a sense of being solid and grounded like a mountain. Remembering that my guidance is simply a guide. And if it doesn't feel right for you, it's really important that you listen to that. This is what we're learning, to listen to the messages of our body and to pay attention, anchoring in the present moment in this very specific and deliberate way. There's no right or wrong way of doing these practices. Your mind will wander. It's what minds do. So an invitation to bring your attention to your breath and to find a point within the breath that's most vivid for you today that you can observe the experience of the breath from, and that you can use as an anchor to bring yourself back when your mind has wandered off. And if the breath isn't somewhere that you want to settle, finding a neutral point of the body that you can use to anchor and observe the practice from. It's perhaps somewhere fairly quiet, but interesting, that you can explore and be interested in, and then you can return your attention once you've gathered yourself in. So a point within the body or the breath. You might want to experiment. If you use the breath most often, find a neutral point in the body, and if you use the body more often, an invitation to bring your attention to the breath. Perhaps have a go for today. Maybe the breath might feel a bit safer than it has done for you previously. Maybe not. An invitation to be playful with your experience. Observing your breath from that one specific point, breathing in and breathing out. And then expanding your awareness from the breath to include all of your body. You breathing. What can you notice in your body today? Scanning from your head down to your toes, or your toes up to your head, bit by bit, part by part, exploring and checking in with yourself. If you notice any points of tension, an invitation to let that go. If within the practice there are points, areas of the body that are causing you distraction, discomfort, could be an itch, could be a tingle, knowing that you have a few options as to how to manage within the practice. You can move, you can scratch that itch, weaving the movements into the practice, slowing them down, observing the sensations and colours and shapes and temperatures, the weight. And resting in the felt sensation of having made that movement, noticing what's present. Relief, disappointment, and as best you can, dropping into the felt sensation of the experience. The second option is to explore the sensation. You don't have to go right into the middle. You can rest around the edges, sort of walk yourself around it. Where does the sensation become more intense or less intense? Does it move? Is it a constant? Is it cold? Is it hot? Does it have a shape, color? Bringing that childlike curiosity to your experience of the sensation. And just checking in that you're not tightening and holding around it. And if you are, can you let that go and explore what's left? And then thirdly, there's the option of the breath, to breathe into or around the sensation. It could be a soft, gentle breath. It could be a strong, forceful one, like blowing out a candle. Again, that playful curiosity around it. And then returning your attention at any moment back to the breath within the body. And the sensations that you're noticing. The mind wanders. It's never satisfied. We'll always be searching for more exciting things, and sitting with the breath in the body, knowing that we are part of a group. You're all experiencing this. Perhaps turning towards yourself with some kindness and compassion and tenderness. Our minds are searching for more exciting things than our breath, the experience of it within our bodies. Or perhaps today you're finding delight and comfort in the ordinary, mundane, and quite extraordinary experience of observing your breath in your body. Perhaps this is exactly what the mind is asking for today. Not overstimulated environments and worlds with screens and information and news and colours and temptations. Your breath in your body. Now an invitation for you to reach for that moisturiser. Slowly and carefully. Observing how your body knows exactly what to do. Taking the lid off. Placing a small amount on the back of your left hand. Smelling it, does it have a smell? What is the sensation of smelling if you're not using a cream. What does your hand smell like? Just noticing the warmth of your hand as it gets closer to your face. And just gently placing the moisturiser on your hand. Noticing the textures. Warmth. The knuckles, being playful with the skin around your knuckles. Massaging your hand. The textures, the lines, the feel of your nails, the hardness. And putting a little bit on the inside of your hand. Again, noticing the sensations here. There are so many nerves in our hands. Can you feel? Pleasant or unpleasant. Massaging the muscles of your fingers. Your body knows what to do. This right hand knows what to do. Now let's bring a bit more attention to our right hand. A little bit of moisturiser on it. Bringing it to your nose. Perhaps doing one nostril and then the other. And then just checking in with your posture. You're leaning more one way or the other as the shoulder come up by your ear. Honouring this vessel. Just doing this cream on your hands, your fingers, the nail beds. The textures and temperatures. And then massaging the palm of the hand. You may not need any more cream, up to you. The lines, the muscles. And just closing your eyes if you have them open. And just resting in the felt sensation of having made those movements. And turning your attention to your breath in your body. I'm going to invite you to put some moisturiser on your hands, to place it on your face. Put it on your cheek. Really slowing down this movement. Working around the cheeks to begin with in a circular motion. Perhaps closing your eyes, noticing the textures and softness. Moving your hands to your forehead. Slowly massaging the face. Checking that your shoulders haven't come up by your ears. Doing whatever feels good. Moving the hands over the nose and the lips and the chin. Listening to what your needs are. Mind wanders, gets lost in stories of criticism, of judgment, wishing things were different. Anchoring yourself back in the present moment and the sensation of you massaging your face. Exploring, being interested. The textures, the warmth. You've got your eyes closed, the colours behind your eyelids, the sounds. Your hands to your ears, massaging your earlobes. And down your neck. Using a bit more cream. You need to. The back of your neck, sides of your neck, your throat. And then slowly bringing your hands back into your lap. And resting in the felt sensation of having made those movements. What can you notice? Now gently narrowing your attention back to the breath. Breathing in, pause, and breathing out, pause. And turning your attention to that anchor that you found earlier within the practice. And spending a few moments focusing your attention on your in-breath. You can count from 1 up to 10 if that feels helpful. Or leaving, counting to the side if that's not of use, doesn't serve you today. Observing your in-breath. Your direct felt experience of your in-breath. Now an invitation to move your awareness to your out-breath. Again, you can count. That feels helpful. You lose your way, simply returning your attention back to the beginning, back to 1. There's no prize or competition for getting to 10. Now an invitation to bring your attention to the pauses between the in-breath and the out-breath. What's happening in those quiet moments? And then observing the whole flow of the breath as you breathe in and pause, and breathe out and pause. Again, counting if that's helpful. And now an invitation to let go of paying attention to anything in particular, moving into a moment of choiceless awareness, allowing yourself to go where you want to go. Now returning your attention back to that anchor that you found earlier within the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And then expanding that awareness from the breath to include all of the body, you breathing here. And I'm going to close practice with a poem by Marianne Moore in the joy section of this book. The book is The Poetry of Impermanence, Mindfulness and Joy, and it's edited by John Brehm. What are years? What is our innocence? What is our guilt? All are naked, none is safe. And whence is courage, the unanswered question, the resolute doubt, dumbly calling, deafly listening, that in misfortune, even death encourages others, and in its defeat stirs the soul to be strong. He sees deep and is glad who accedes to mortality, and in his imprisonment rises upon himself as the sea in a chasm, struggling to be free and unable to be. In its surrendering finds its continuing. So he who strongly feels behaves. The very bird, grown taller as he sings, steals his form straight up. Though he is captive, his mighty singing says, satisfaction is a lowly thing. How pure a thing is joy. This is mortality. This is eternity. So moving and stretching, whatever way you feel called to do. It's nice having moist skin and hands. Let's move into having a cup of tea together. If you don't have tea, I have an additional cup for you here. And again, this week I'm having Verveine, which I think is called Verbena. Bringing your attention to the colours. Can't open this because my hands are too greasy. The textures, the shapes, the sounds. This is an invitation to pause and to reflect on your direct experience of the practice. Perhaps observing how there are many moments of our day, like putting on moisturiser or drinking a cup of tea, that we could bring this mindful awareness to, that the practice of these mindfulness techniques can be applied into our daily lives. It doesn't need to be just this formal space, this invitation to drop into the activities of our day, to observe the steam rising in a teapot, the leaves swirling in a cup, the textures of moisturizers on our skin. Most of our days are made up of these activities. And there are so many extraordinary moments that we miss by not paying attention. So moment to pause and honour that. Perhaps writing a page in a journal, or simply observing what your direct experience of that was. Perhaps it was unbearable. That was your experience, and it's not about pushing anything away. We're allowing our experiences to be as they are. Of course, you're welcome to reach out if anything has arisen for you that you'd like to explore in a little bit more detail. So, moving forward into the next week, the invitation is to undertake a mindful compassion practice. In the last atelier, I mentioned how 30 minutes a day for 2 weeks was enough to show that people could become more generous. So they gave more money to charity if they practiced 30 minutes of mindful compassion daily. So I'm going to link 2 practices, one longer one and then one shorter one. I know many of you are time pressured, so the invitation is to give it a go. But I'm also going to ask you to have a go before you do this of filling in a self-compassion scale. And then we're going to look in 2 weeks, see how you've gotten on, see if anything has changed, just to be interested, just to perhaps bring a little bit of the science into it that I've been sharing with you. I'm going to read a little bit about it here, and then we'll close with a compassion practice, a short one. So, mindfulness is a subject of rapidly growing interest in academic psychology. Research on self-compassion is following close on its heels. One goal of self-compassion research is to determine how it's related to other personal qualities, such as life satisfaction, coping with failure, self-esteem, and wisdom. Kristen Neff, a psychologist at the University of Texas, has developed a self-compassion scale that is used in most studies on self-compassion. So this is the one I'm going to give you the link to. The scale has 6 subscales that measure key elements of self-compassion: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness, and their opposites: self-judgment, isolation, and over-identification. So I'll give you the link to that to give you a good measure of your current level of self-compassion. And again, we can have a look in a few weeks, or perhaps at the end of the ateliers, and see how it measures up. That's the idea. So let's do a short self-compassion practice to close. Okay, So taking a moment to arrive in your body and close your eyes or have them open if that's preferable to you. And I want you to take an in-breath of 4 and an out-breath of 6. So in your own count, but the intention is to make that out-breath longer than the in-breath. So breathing in for 4, holding for 2, and breathing out to the count of 6. I'm doing that for a few rounds. Now I want you to hold yourself in your mind's eye as if you would remind a small child, puppy or a kitten. That tender, way, acknowledging your vulnerability and your suffering and your struggle. The time that you've spent today in this practice, taking care of your own health and well-being. Your skin that you've massaged. You've taken the time to pay attention and be in the present moment with yourself. This is not easy. These techniques are simple, but they're not easy. And it's brave to show up and sit with ourselves like this. So holding yourself in tender, kind awareness. And an invitation to place a hand on your heart, one on your belly. You can say these words out loud, or you can repeat them inside your head if you'd rather. May I be well. May I be at ease. And may I be kind to myself and others. May I be well. May I be at ease. And may I be kind to myself and others. May I be well. May I be at ease. May I be kind to myself and others. And just taking a moment to think about what you need to do next. What does your body need for you to do next? And as best you can, taking this sense of connection and awareness into whatever you have left to do with your day. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always a bit weird doing this by myself. I think I'm going to go and wash the moisturiser off. It wasn't as, I won't be buying that. Do reach out if anything has come up. And thank you for joining me. And again, my apologies that this isn't a live group for you this week. Take care.